This place is full of love. You can tell the people that like to be with old people because they really take care of you good and are very kind.
Twice a day, every day, the activities people have an organized activity that's always interesting.
Everybody loves to play bingo. We play it 3 times a week here. We also have ceramics that you can paint. Really pleasant to live here. It's a good place to be.
Only if you know the number.
I was going to say that you would have the right.
And if this is an emergency. Okay.
I guess we're just here to field the questions that the audience has. You know, what do you guys, any questions or concerns you have about?
Yeah, not
The
really
EMS
questions. When it popped up and we read about it, we're thinking, this is something that we need to know about. That's why we're here. And I really expected more people than this.
Our first meeting had quite a few more, and there was some educational stuff out there, but we thought we would extend it more for the other people that hadn't made it to that meeting.
So this isn't the first time?
So this is the second.
The second one.
Oh,
We'll
missed
have
it then.
We'll have another one in Upton.
Were the others that attended?
The one was, yes.
Good, good.
Well, I guess what we could say is, what it is, we have, as Board of Commissioners, we have the ability to form a EMS district. We won't run it. We will appoint up to 7 members to be it. It'd be just like our solid waste district, Virginia, or the fair board.
It'll be a district.
But it'll be a district though. The mill levy won't be mandatory. It'll have to go in front of the voters. We can't just say, oh, we're forming a district, we're taxing you 2 mills. It has to, once the district is formed, whoever's on that board, they will put it on the ballot if they want, and then the voters will determine if they're going to be taxed 2 mills to pay for an EMS district.
You can go up to 4.
Yep. You can do 2 mills. If voters vote for it, there's 2 mills, and they will automatically renew every election, or they're always there. Then you can just, like the hospital board, how they go out and ask for the additional 3 mills that they do. This board could go out and ask for additional 2 mills, so they could get up to 4 mills.
On a ballot basis.
Yep. Yep. Right. Just like the hospital board does.
Yeah.
You know, and I guess my feelings are that the 2 mills, even if it's 4 mills, would not give you enough to start an ambulance service. I mean, it's pretty much going to be there to subsidize the Campbell County folks and the Upton folks. But that'll be up to the board to determine. It won't be up to the Board of Commissioners. That'll be up to that EMS district.
And is that why you've started the process of looking into it?
Yes.
Because you need to be.
Yeah, they're.
Yeah.
So, from, I think as a community standpoint, whether the county decides to continue to work with Campbell County or not, I think what this does is this gives you the ability to have a little bit more money. So say someday you decide you didn't want to work with Campbell County, or Campbell County said that they couldn't make ends meet even with subsidization. You guys would then have money or a means of funding your own service or helping subsidize someone else come in. Really, I think what's happened at the state level is the state legislators don't want to make EMS a mandatory thing unless there is a way to fund it. So they don't want to make an unfunded mandate. Because if they were to say, okay, starting July 2026, EMS is now essential, you have to have it. But there's no funding mechanism behind that, what's going to happen is it's just going to really hurt a lot of the municipalities and things.
Right.
So I think this money, whether you don't look at it as a Campbell County or whatever, look at it as your community's fund to be able to pay for EMS. And maybe someday that's not Campbell County, maybe someday that's your own ambulance or some other ambulance company. But it really, I think, gives you the opportunity to purchase ambulances that belong to the county. So we've seen EMS agencies across the state that lost control of their ambulance equipment. They sold it to another company, and then when that company left, it left that community in a really tough spot, and they had to try to get their own equipment. And it's very tough to get ambulances. The back date on them is a couple of years once you buy them to get them built up. And so I think it would be wise for the community to take kind of the control back a little bit and set yourselves up for this. This is something that I'm trying to help Crook County Commissioners get, and trying to get it as far as you guys have, as far as getting after the people to vote, be educated. But I wouldn't look at this as temporarily, Campbell County is your ambulance of choice, and we'd love to continue to be that as a spokesperson for Campbell County. But I think you need to look at this as your community's ambulance fund for whoever you decide to use.
That makes sense to me, yep.
So, but it's a long road, and I think the way that things have gone, I don't know how much it's impacted the Campbell County Hospital and the EMS agency compared to, like, say, the town of Upton or the town of Moorcroft. But I know that the town of Moorcroft was really heavily impacted by the recent residential property tax reduction. So their ambulance is funded almost entirely out of their general fund. And when the recent legislation dropped the property taxes for residential services, that took a huge chunk out of their bottom line. And so I think people are trying to find ways to fill that gap. You couple that with the fact that insurance companies aren't really paying as much as people pay in for. And then you have folks that are on Medicare and Medicaid who we get maybe 30 cents on the dollar for it. And so it's becoming tougher and tougher to operate. And so I think we're just trying to help the community help us.
I have a couple questions about this. And if the commissioners go ahead and approve an EMS district, does that open up any state funding or anything like that, grants or things like that can be pursued?
I would say that particular motion or approval would necessarily open it up. There is available funding on a case-by-case basis for local districts, primarily through mineral royalty grants. But to be honest, the legislature's pretty reluctant to support the mineral royalty grant program, to where the local districts, when they're in a bind or in need, can go to the state. That budget's always pretty lean. And so the state, we have these conversations on the state level, but to your comments, anytime the legislature's involved, it takes away local control. To where, the idea that we're going to build it right here, regardless of who the provider is I think fits us better, because there are some of us who are happy to support EMS services and even would support it being an essential service. But at the same time, the more the legislature's in county's business, the worse it is for the county, from my perspective.
That was a good segue. What is the overall feeling in Cheyenne right now as far as it being voted in the future as an essential service? And another kind of dovetailing on that, what kind of response do you get, if any, from the counties on that subject? If you know of any.
There's a lot of moving parts there because like we just heard, there's a lot of counties, different municipalities, their EMS service is structured differently everywhere across the state to where suddenly there are, property tax legislation affects some counties way more than others. And so the 3 counties I represent are all a different story, every one of them. As far as support in the legislature at this time, I would say in the House of Representatives, I would predict there would not be support. I have not had those conversations, but I think it's safe to say that there would not be a lot of support in the House of Representatives. That's hard to predict. But I'd be happy to have those conversations. And we are unique, just as far as House district, because we're 3 hardship counties or borderline hardship counties in a row here on the east side of the state, which, even not so far away, it's just a whole different animal. And there's a lot of representatives that don't share our perspective just because they're not those
rural.
Districts are not that rural and not 100% hardship, which the commissioners can help me, is a county where 1 mill yields $300,000 or less. Is that correct, commissioners?
And Crook did fall back into hardship county.
Okay.
And what'd you say?
Crook County did fall back into hardship, so
Okay.
Crook, Weston, Niobrara, right here on this
Yep.
east side, 3 hardship counties in a row.
Scotia?
Yeah, they're right on the line,
Goshen's on the line.
in and out.
So yeah, it's,
So the only one on your side is Laramie County, which is.
Well, I was kind of glad to see you showed up tonight because it does help answer a couple questions that I've had about this. As far as you got a better feeling for Cheyenne than what I have. What is your, if you have one, what is your position as far as what the best route to go would be? Would you recommend going, having a vote to get an EMS district?
The more local we can keep it, the better, in my opinion. And so I do believe that would be the route to take to keep it local. There's oftentimes a municipality or a county would like a statute to back them up. But at the same time, when they get that statute,
They lose control.
they cede some local control.
And on that part of this, kind of dovetailing off of that, knowing you're with Campbell County Health, if a EMS district was voted in, how much involvement from where you work, who you work for, would there be in this whole process, the getting it going, and after it's actually put together, would you still be involved at that point?
So I think it's a good question. I think really that would depend on who the commissioners set up as the board members. I think we have a vested interest in helping make sure that if this were to go the route that the citizens of this county want it to go, we'd want it to be successful. So I would say we'd probably be pretty actively involved, depending on however the commissioners decide to set the board up. This is not just a me thing from Campbell County. This is me as an EMS provider in Wyoming for almost 20 years. I would really like to see this happen in this county and the county that I live,
And you
just to
live
make sure
in
that if I call
Moorcroft,
911, there's an
okay.
ambulance. I live in Crook County, yep, in
Yeah.
Moorcroft. But I think that, having it at that local level, really, you can tailor the needs to what your community needs. I don't think that the EMS taxing district is the silver bullet that will save EMS. I think it's going to take a multi-pronged approach, but I think it's a really good first step. But again, I'm not trying to convince people to vote one way or the other. I just want people to be educated and be able to make an informed vote and make an informed decision. But I would say we'd be as involved as the commissioners would want us to be, to help and do this, because this is something new. I think that you'd have to get experts from different areas that touch EMS, you'd probably have to have some people at large, like a citizen at large, and then you'd have to set up key performance indicators or benchmarks that service that you have has to meet. So, has to have a certain number of response time, has to have so much equipment or what have you, to make sure that, you are getting the service that you're paying for. And I think that would be something that we could help, look at standards and see. But I think it would be, you'd have to have it done correctly. So, and we'd be happy to help.
Now, I look at that in terms of response time, having the equipment where you need it. I mean, with Upton, Osage, Newcastle, it's kind of straightforward. It's a straight line. What is it, 15 miles apart, each one of those? But then you got some more rural stuff up Four Corners, Mallow, in that area. Even down south, there's quite a bit of Weston County down south.
I think that's a novel idea, and I guess I was encouraged just by Senator Driscoll's bill that moves this conversation forward. And let's hear some of those ideas. And instead of just saying, "Oh, one man, one vote, nothing we can do to help you, Weston County," finally, it seems like the issue has been forced a little bit, and I'm encouraged by that, at least.
I'm very encouraged by that. And I'm encouraged by the fact that the commissioners haven't pulled that resolution that created the constitutional senator and representative for Weston County. I think that them not backtracking helps a lot and solidifies that it's not just this handful of people that want Weston County to be represented. And I think that the conversation is going to be really good. And I think there's going to be a lot of ideas thrown around.
Are you aware of any districts that actually have that kind of a spread of population that's not dense, but spread out like that has that going well?
I'm not. I do know that the EMS taxing district is relatively new. I think people are just now starting to take advantage of it. I think it was voted in 2021, 2022. It was a while ago, but we're just now starting to see it get steam. I think the way to look at that would be, you'd have to look at the heat maps, where the calls were, who's using it, and then doing things like we're doing here this week. Actually, we're having the Safe Tech Solutions come do an EMS needs assessment and identifying better ways to do, your service. So is there anything that we could be doing that we're not doing? Where is the best need for an ambulance? Where do you strategically put that so you can use it?
Do we actually have a map of where all these calls come from?
I can pull one off of our charting system, and so
Okay.
I could pull a heat map and show you where the densities and all the calls.
If you could email that to me, and
Yeah,
I can
I'll add
include
it.
that in this.
So how does this work as far as, there isn't a lot of people going into EMS field. So if you form this board and then you don't have the right amount of personnel to run it, or, it just seems to be a problem everywhere as far as staffing of anything.
So one of the things that I also do is I help teach initial EMS education classes, and the Wyoming Department of Workforce Services has been offering free EMS, like reimbursable classes. And And so we've been trying to push that out to the community through ads and Facebook and the different things. We have seen some folks that wouldn't have been able to take the classes do that because of what the good work the Department of Workforce Services is doing. And so I think continuing to fund those things would be really, really good too. But I think that's kind of one of the other ways to approach this is we got to keep people coming into the pipeline, get into the schools, teach people that, hey, EMS is a career. You could go work on a helicopter, you could work on an ambulance, you could work on the fire department. And so we try to do those sorts of things with the community career days and the freshman impact program. But I think that's all part of the picture.
Overall.
Yep.
But what is the statistics of people going into that field, like right now? I mean, is it low? Is it normal? Is it high?
The Office of EMS from Wyoming, they do have those statistics. I'm not sure what they are off the top of my head, but the unit manager, Aaron Kaler, spoke at the last EMSU conference and was talking kind of about how many EMS people we see. And I do see, he said that he thinks that there's more people that left EMS because of COVID, and they're still trying to fill those ranks. I'm not sure the exact numbers, but we did see a huge chunk of people kind of got tired of just dropped out. So.
I do know that across the state in high school, the CTE programs are bringing pathways in, and one of the pathways is medical, and EMS CPR is one of those that you can start as a freshman. That's being pushed more across the state.
Which is fantastic, and we've actually hired some folks at Campbell County, either in Sheridan or Gillette, through the high school mentorship programs that they have. They did their ride time with us, they went and got their certification, and then they had a job when they got out. And so they've been some of the best ones we've got. So there is hope.
Yeah. Okay.
Going back to your question on about
Can you
grants,
speak up a little?
Oh, back to your question on the grants. If there's grants come available, if this goes through, there would be a funding to match. At least there's some funding that we could match grants with. That's a lot of times people, they don't even have the money to match a grant with, so they don't apply. This way, that would give them, there would be a funding mechanism for a match for the grants.
That's good to know.
And to add to that, then we could be eligible to have an ambulance here and have one sitting here waiting, at any call instead of. So the situation in
Not having to have one come from right if this
wherever,
one's off.
wherever,
Yeah.
and not to put a personal spin on this, but I'm going to put a personal spin on it. It's an amazing thing when you don't have one. And when my
aware of that.
husband had his incident of a twisted intestine, and it's 10 o'clock at night, he's 26 below, and the ER doctor said, you gotta go. And the only place I can go is Sundance. Thank God I can go to Sundance. But I'm driving. I'm not an EMT. He's got oxygen and he's on the verge of dying. And I have nothing except God. And the scariest thing, and he was full of grace for me. Not to preach, apologize. I'm not supposed to put that in there, but
Put it in.
but that's what we had, and I'm grateful for it. But what if that
But
was
it could be better. You guys are trying to accomplish better.
That's what we're trying to do. So what if the child you had it on your video, but what if the child was burned? What if the child, no help, there was no helicopters, there was nothing. It was, I am sorry. And that's a weird place to be. And it's unfortunate. And I think we were lucky. I think other people in this community get the same grace. I just don't. We talk about growth and we talk about, and as you say, we're getting older. I mean, I'm not, but darn on it. But here we are.
It's going to be cheerleading next week.
Yeah, there we go. If we don't bring levity, what do we have? I think that this is just going to deteriorate so badly that we're not even going to have the older people here. They can't afford to be here. And I don't mean necessarily with their money. They can't afford with their lives to be here.
Yeah.
And,
Well, and that's something that Connie and I have talked about. What if the hospital just doesn't make it? We're not staying in Newcastle. I can't afford to be that far away from something like that. You know, when you've had a heart attack that puts you on the sidewalk outside your front door, and you get there, and they came quick in this particular instance. They came quick. But I was sure that was it. And thank God it wasn't. And they life-flighted me to Gillette. But that was a quick response. Had that not happened, I don't think I would be here. I really don't. That hurt. That was a kick in the chest by a horse, is what it felt like. And I thought that I was on my way out. I could not imagine having to wait for that ambulance. And at that time, you know, that's when we lived over there in the other house. It was a block away, thank God, and they weren't out on a call. But yeah, we need ambulances here. And I'm not exactly old, but I'm not young.
The bottom line is, I don't want to pay more taxes, but I'm
Neither
willing,
do I, but you know
I'm
what?
willing to if I know it could help anybody, let alone my family or anybody's family.
But I don't want to wait for 2.5 hours for an ambulance either. I've never had to go through that, but I've heard it. And I can't
The chances
imagine.
of us having to wait is getting greater all the time because of the funding. If we can shorten that time down and, you know, granted, there's going to be case-by-case things that dictate time, but overall, if we can get that response time down, I mean, that's the goal. That'd be my goal for it.
I'd really like to see that map. I think that would help a lot.
Have we, and somebody told me this, and I don't know where I heard it, so it's probably not. But
you read it on the internet
I
again.
might have read it on the internet.
Oh, it must be true.
It would be kind of nice to be able to tell people possibly an average of 2%. Is it around $70, something like that? Someone says $70.
It would be 2 mills on a $100,000 house. 2 mills would roughly be like right at $70, I think, with where we're at right now, because it came down some.
It did come down.
Because when we was pushing the landfill, 1 mill was $48. So now it's come down, so 2 mills would be right around the $70 on a $100,000 property.
And I think, I don't know, I only can speak myself, but
Yeah, if your value, your property's valued at $100,000, your tax roll would go up roughly $70.
And I think that's important to put it out there in that perspective so that the common people can understand it.
It's something
And
that
it's
we're-
only $100.
Okay, let's,
Give up one coffee,
Yeah.
give up, for $70.
and let's
when
go
you talk
ahead.
through taxes, everybody panics.
They do.
Including me.
Oh,
yeah.
We don't like taxes.
Well, and let's go ahead and put that into even more perspective. How does that affect people who rent houses?
Zero.
Exactly.
Unless the rent goes up.
Yeah,
Yeah, somebody's going to
That's
pay
what
Unless,
happens.
Yeah.
what?
The rent will go up.
because the
The
land,
owner will raise the rent because he's
Yes.
paid.
yeah, but that person will not. But the landowner, the landlord will pay it,
Even the
and the
renter
tenant
will pay
won't.
more.
Yeah.
And then the key thing to that too is, the biggest payers of that tax will never use it. Because
Probably.
it's your pipelines, I mean, railroads, power lines, they're all paying taxes, and they pay the biggest share of our taxes. At our last meeting, there were some people from the ag industry was saying that they're gonna carry the burden of it. Kara, county assessor, looked the numbers up. The ag industry in our county contributes 4.12% of the taxes.
And For the
It's fine.
state.
Yeah.
I think it's 2 or 3
Yeah.
statewide.
Really? It's all mining and
Yeah.
railroad. Yeah.
There's a lot of it's, like Teton County, they get none from ag because it's all national, state and federal owned land, So that dictates a lot too on how much is paid. Yeah.
Can you state your name for the people who will see this?
My name's Brad McKee. I'm a shift supervisor for EMS training and education at Campbell County Health.
And your names?
Sharon Callan.
Archie Calendar. Scott Mitchell.
Commissioner
Commissioner White.
Ed Wagner.
Marty Urban.
Mary Huber.
Lisa Williams.
Representative J.D. Williams.
Brad and JD, I really appreciate you guys coming out. I didn't expect to see.
I came to be educated. Good work, everybody. It's good.
That's what we're here for, to answer questions.
And could you go ahead and just let the people that have viewed this know when the next meeting will be and where? EMS meeting, not tomorrow's.
April. It's going to be
Yeah.
April.
Yeah, April,
That's
huh?
how we got everybody here. It's in April.
August 18th.
18th of August in Upton.
At the
Community Center?
Community Center.
What
At
time?
6 o'clock.
Thank
So
you.
are people just not wanting to be informed? I mean, this is sad to me. But I didn't know about the first meeting either. I thought this was just something new coming around, but.
I think we have several things going on tonight. Some of the people that might have been here probably are going to city council meeting. We've just gotten out of fair yesterday, and I think people are tired.
Well, yeah.
It's like a lot of things. Until an ambulance don't show up, it's out of sight, out of mind. When all of a sudden you don't have an ambulance showing up, okay, now it's personal to me, and it's a crisis now.
But it's too late then,
Yeah.
so.
I also think that a lot of people will view this as another government meeting, and right now I think a lot of people, me included, are governmented out. It has moved so fast, so furious in this last year that I think people just want a break. And we're getting to the end of summer, and they want to take that last family vacation. So the timing of it is probably not the easiest thing at this point.
Yeah.
But this will be out there. If they want to see it, it'll be there, and it's not going to be that long of a video, so.
I would say too, if there's ever any question about EMS operations or the way things are done or why are things done this way, please reach out to us. We're happy to share how, we do our things and do the reasons we do things. And we want to just make sure people are educated and they understand how it works. I think people just take it for granted until they need it.
You're right.
And so,
Which that's human nature, and we all do that, but you don't want to do that in ambulance service.
Weston County is in a far better situation than some counties in the state right now as far as EMS. So,
Really?
Weston County is in a far better situation than some counties in the state right now as far as EMS. So,
Really?
And that should scare the hell out of me.
Yeah.
there are counties right now that don't have a 911 ambulance,
Really?
let alone a transfer ambulance. So,
Oh my
and that's
God.
the big hiccup I think that we're dealing with here is how can we best serve the hospital and get the transfers out as well as maintain the 911 coverage. Hopefully this needs assessment that's coming through in this next week. They're going to be in Newcastle on Wednesday doing their assessments. Hopefully they'll give us some insight, ideas. This is what we can do differently. This is how we can better serve the community. So we want to serve the community. We want to be integrated into this community, and we know we've got a ways to go.
Well,
So
thank you for what you do, because if there weren't people like you that cared enough about people to do what you do, I mean,
I want to be able to call 911 and have an ambulance show up. So I'll do whatever I can do to help. Yeah.
Well, thank
I
you
think
for
last
coming.
time, there was this big thing about property taxes, and this was just one more adding on, you know, we want to back off, and you guys are adding more on, and there just was a kind of an uprising of, you know, we just lobbied to not have, and now you're asking to put more on, and I think there was quite a push in that direction, is my humble opinion, but
Yeah, this is about 1/10 or smaller, what the last meeting was, easily.
I think between now and the time that voting happens, it'll be really important for us as EMS folks to make sure that we're available for questions, we're doing what we can to notify folks and educate folks, not to try to turn people to vote one way or the other, but just make sure that people are informed and they know kind of where we're at. So,
and we have a little, I say that interestingly, we have a little time before an election comes up. And so that's part of the thing, not doing this rush, trying to get the deadlines put in without putting, so I think.
And that kind of balls everybody else up to, why are you pushing this so much?
Right.
And so quickly, what's really going on?
Yeah, well, what is your
Yeah,
ulterior motive?
yeah.
Would you mind addressing that as far as you guys voting to actually make a board doesn't mean we have an EMS district? Could you address that?
Actually, if we decide to have an EMS district, there's a district.
I mean, but it doesn't mean that the mill levy is automatic.
No, that's
What-
voting.
The way it will work, by resolution, Board of County Commissioners can form an EMS district. We'll put an advertisement out for board members to come forward. We get a board in place, and that board is very key in getting it on the ballot and educating people.
And if they don't vote it in, what happens with this district?
Probably dissolve. Would be my suggestion. I mean, that's,
I think too, I believe you're able to vote on it one or two more times.
Yeah.
And so, we had those discussions in Crook County, like what happens. I think being able to get it on the ballot and at least vote for it, and then give the state legislators some ammunition, say, look, they're trying to do things at their level. The voters either didn't want it or they weren't educated about it. And I think it kind of says, hey, we're trying to take this bull by its horns at our local level and do it, but we might need some more help, or there might be some other ways to fund it. My recommendation would be to try to carry it out for the full 2 or 3 times and just tell the powerful story and educate folks. And I don't know many folks. I know some folks that have said, I would rather bleed to death than have to pay extra taxes. And it's probably the most American thing I've ever heard someone say. It made me proud, but also me personally, I'd be happy to pay extra tax for an ambulance to show up.
And that all depends on where you're at in your life also. You know?
You mentioned other funding. Is there other funding for EMS districts besides the mill levy initially?
So the state gave us the opportunity to do this as like a property tax. There is other funding out there that we're currently trying to explore. So right now there is the upper payment limit for the Wyoming Medicaid and Medicare program that agencies can participate in, and that helps us get a little bit more from the Medicaid and Medicare patients than we normally would collect. There are the SLIB grants and things like that you can get. So I think right now we're trying to find anything and everything we can to help.
How does this help with the funding of, say, life flights?
So I believe it's a ground service only set up for that. I don't know that it has a provision for helicopters right now.
Okay.
Air Medical, I used to work as a air medical manager.
That'd be interesting.
They have their own set of issues right now. So they're struggling with the insurance is not paying, and so the cost of things, they're trying to keep the cost tamped down, but still be able to be utilized. So that's a whole nother ball of wax probably for another meeting.
You know, I hope I'm not out of place here, but like you mentioned, if maybe the ambulance doesn't show up, then I might need to show up. I just want to let everybody know that I hear all the ambulance calls. And I do an awful lot of praying in the middle of the night.
Thank you.
Just keep breathing. Because I really don't want to go. Exactly.
Nothing personal.
But I think some people can think that, you know, and it's like, no. Actually, pretty actively praying. Yeah, just keep it going, keep going. And I would say probably, with the exception, even more are the suicide attempts. Because it's like, you don't want to do that. And we have way too many of those in this community.
It's all one. Mental health and substance abuse is a really big problem.
So I'm rooting for you, wherever I am. I was a medic, and I passed. So I know that feel too.
I know when you showed up here, everybody here was going, oh, no.
Oh, no, look at that.
So how was this meeting advertised?
Becky had it in the paper.
She notified the papers.
I couldn't remember. Okay,
I saw
we weren't sure. Sorry.
It's not on your website.
So, I don't know how to get it more out there to.
Yeah. We had a pretty good turnout our last one at the fairgrounds, and probably 75%, we had a show of hands, probably 75% of the people there were in favor of it.
We're in favor of us exploring it.
Yep.
Yes.
Moving forward with it, kind of. So,
That's good.
I think they have a tendency to just back away then. I think that's probably why this is smaller. Because they're just, everybody kind of loses interest in, oh yeah, they're just checking into it. Well, but if you do have questions, you need to be here. You know, at least it shows support if you show up.
Well, thanks for being proactive and looking down the road,
Yes, absolutely.
because it takes time. Oh my goodness.
And what brought it out that you guys decided to start looking at it?
there was several,
A year ago, did they come in and say what's happening?
yeah,
Oh, you guys did?
yeah. Well, like, the legislature put it, give us, the Board of Commissioners, the opportunity to form districts, probably 3 years ago. Then the ambulance service came and said, hey, where you got, you know, we talked about it once, it just kind of went to the wayside. The ambulance service came to us and said, hey, where you guys at with this?
Right.
So,
And there had been a period of time here where it was up in the air as far as what our ambulance was going to look like here, quite a bit. And so I think that made it of most important interest in this county at that time.
I think, and the reality that he brought us was, you know, they want to help us, they want to work for us, but financially, you know, where are we going? They can't afford to help us, we can't afford to help them, and it's the reality, unfortunately, of the world today.
The problem that we face on our ambulance is, as Campbell County Health, they do get some tax funding from Campbell County. And so if we were to come over here and take operational losses, citizens of Campbell County can say, why are our taxes funding the ambulance in Newcastle? You need to make this work operational.
I see.
And that's the hard, sticky wicket we have, is we want to make sure that we have a 911 ambulance available for 911s, but we also need to help service the hospital here as they try to transfer patients out to higher levels of care. And so in order to do that, what happens now is that ambulance stays and they wait at the hospital until a truck can come over from Wright or from Gillette to pick up the coverage of the 911. So then they can leave and go take the patient. We do have some local folks that live here that can help, and they've been phenomenal, but not enough. And so we've been trying to recruit, trying to do classes and do things locally to bolster that. But that's the hard spot, is financially they can't afford to put another ambulance here with the call volumes as they are. And so that's, you know, I think what it needs, but that's not the operations.
And Newcastle is aging, you know, to where there is more need. So,
So clarify for me, there's one ambulance here, but really it's a 2-ambulance community.
So there's 2 ambulances physically in Moorcroft or in Newcastle, but we've got one 24-hour paramedic covered ambulance staffed at all times. And so what happens is we can put out an all call and see if the people that live here can come in if something happens like that. And a lot of times they do come in. You know, Nub Baker, Austin Kenny, Joseph Quinones, those guys, they put in a lot of time to come in. But a lot of times what'll happen is we'll send that transfer out to Rapid City. We don't want to send the transfer out because they're in a hospital. We don't want to lose that 911 truck until there's another truck here to help cover us.
Yeah, understood.
And as far as the call volumes go, that's hopefully what this needs assessment will help us show. That's another grant-funded assessment that's happening to look at the call volumes and see, is this a 1.5 ambulance? Is this a one paid ambulance with volunteer backup? Or, you know, to try to help us answer those questions operationally and figure out how to best serve this.
And where does that come from?
So
Who does that?
the Office of EMS had some funding that was made ready to them from the state somehow, and we applied for this grant. And so that's from a third-party assessor called Safe Tech Solutions, and they work with states. They worked with Wyoming in the past. They work with all sorts of different states to do these EMS assessments, and they'll meet with county officials, community officials, stakeholders, and they'll look at everything from billing to staffing models. And they'll present to us, their findings and say, hey, you should tweak this or you should do this, and then they'll help us implement those changes. So we're hopeful that that'll give us some better answers on how to serve this place.
Thank you.
I have a question for you on that. When will you have that report back?
So they said it's a 3-phase approach. The first phase is they're going to come spend a day in Newcastle and Weston County, a day in Campbell County, and a day in Sheridan. They said probably 1 month to 2 months after that, they will then do the phase 2, which is the delivery of the report. And so I'm not sure where that's going to take place, but I would like them to deliver their findings here in this county, in Gillette, and then in Sheridan County. And so we'll definitely make sure that everybody's aware of that. The report's on the website, it's on the state's EMS website, and so you'll be able to pull that data and look at it, kind of see what their findings were. And then that third phase is the implementation of any of the changes that they have recommendations.
So just to bring another little tidbit for you, you need to remind the taxpayers of Campbell County that if it wasn't for Crook and Weston, there wouldn't be a Weston County. I mean, you remind me.
Campbell County.
I'm a Crook County resident, so
Campbell County wouldn't be there.
yeah, if it wasn't for Crook and Weston.
Yeah.
And hey, we go and we shop at Walmart.
I mean, we split up so they could exist.
Yeah, there you go.
Just remind me.
All right.
Any other questions?
Thank you guys for having me.
Brad, it was an honor to have you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
for the patience of waiting for somebody to unlock the
That's
door.
okay. I'm going to try to attend the next meeting as well. If I can't, I'll make sure one of the other supervisors, Shane, is there. But I'll make sure I email you those things.
Thank you.
And then I'll email Becky the same things I email him so you guys can all have access to it. I'm going to try to make the town council meeting.
Is it okay if I go ahead and include that video, say, in this one?
I think so. I think the more people can see that, the better. That's why the EMS Association had it made. So
And the map I also will put up on
Absolutely.
there. Thank you.
I'll make sure that there's no, it's blurred out so you can't see, it's just a heat map, not necessarily addresses. So.
Okay, thank you.
Perfect. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And JD and Lisa, thank you for coming.
Yeah, good for you.
Just for the viewers, they don't even live in Weston County, and
Thank you guys.
but he
We appreciate
represents
it.
Weston County and
Like I said,
Cheyenne
we
for
didn't
us,
know
and
about the
I
other one, but
really
we put it
appreciate
on
you
the
coming
town,
out.
so
Right on the line. Is it Canada, Kitchen, and Big League?
But it is Weston.
See pictures?
Bye.